You know, have you ever stopped to think that maybe the biggest life lessons don't come from the big, powerful figures we look up to? What if the most incredible wisdom for living a really victorious life comes from, well, some of the smallest creatures on the entire planet? Let's dive in and see what they have to teach us.
It's a huge question, right? It's something we all wonder about. We hunt for answers in books, we listen to experts, but what if the real blueprint for wisdom has been right there, practically under our feet, this whole time?
There's this ancient proverb that points to this exact idea, this paradox. It tells us to look at four creatures. They're small, maybe even a little weak physically, but the wisdom they operate in is described as exceeding. So let's meet these four tiny geniuses. All right, our first teacher is a creature we've all seen. You know, marching in that super determined line. It's the humble ant, and its lesson is all about the incredible, game-changing power of preparation. Now, listen closely to how that's phrased. The ants are not strong. That's the key right there. It tells us their secret weapon isn't brute force, it's their strategy. They don't just react to winter when it's already freezing, they act on the certainty of winter while the sun is still out. So when you break it down, the ant's wisdom has four parts. It all kicks off with foresight. That's the ability to see what's coming and know what you'll need. That leads directly to diligence. I mean, these guys work hard without anyone telling them to clock in. From there, it's all about preparation, actually doing the work, and storing up for the hard times before they hit. And finally, organization. They do it all together for the same goal. They're building their victory long before the battle even starts. And boom, there it is. This says it all, doesn't it? The effort you put in when things are easy is what carries you through when things get tough. The big lesson from the ant is simple. Get ready now for what you know is coming later. Okay, let's get to our second wise animal. This one, you might not have even heard of it. It's the coney. And its lesson is kind of shocking, really. It's about finding strength not in yourself, but independence. And there it is again, see? The focus is on their weakness. The verse literally calls them feeble folk. They're not fighters, they're not fast. They are totally vulnerable out in the open. So how in the world do they survive, let alone thrive? So a coney, which is also called a hyrax, is this small little mammal. And its wisdom isn't about trying to become strong when it just isn't. It's about being smart enough to know its own weakness and then finding a refuge, a shelter that is way stronger than any enemy it could ever face. Its safety isn't in itself, it's in its address. And you can see the contrast right here. On one side, you've got this idea of total self-reliance, which, if you're a coney, is just fragile and a terrible idea. But on the other side, you have what we could call strategic dependence. It's about anchoring yourself to something unshakable, like a massive rock. The coney's wisdom is knowing its limits and then building its entire life inside something that has no limits. Our third teacher? Well, this one doesn't show up alone. It arrives in a swarm. The locust is here to teach us about the unbelievable power that comes from unity and order. Now, this is just fascinating. I mean, think about a locust swarm. It's this massive, coordinated force that can literally change the landscape. But the verse says there's no leader, no king shouting orders. So how do they pull off that kind of perfect, terrifying unity? It really is a mystery. There's no CEO, no general at the front of the battle line telling everyone where to go. And yet, they move in perfect sync, like they're a single being. It really points to this deeper truth about cooperation, right? A shared mission, an internal compass that guides the whole group and makes them an absolutely unstoppable force. They just operate in perfect harmony. And that's the lesson. It's so profound. By itself, a locust is just a bug. But together, moving as one disciplined unit, they have the impact and the strength of a giant. Their power isn't in the one, it's in the whole. Okay, on to our fourth and final teacher. And honestly, this might be the most surprising one of them all. The spider teaches us the wisdom of persistence and how that persistence gives you incredible access. Just picture this for a second. A tiny, delicate spider, an animal nobody wants around, somehow gets into the most powerful, most guarded places in the world. A king's palace. It doesn't get there with force. It doesn't have connections. It gets there, as the verse says, with her hands. The spider's wisdom is all about its small, consistent, daily actions. It starts with persistence. Just that quiet, faithful work it does day in and out. That's powered by diligence, patiently building its web thread by thread. It doesn't wait for a handout. It shows incredible resourcefulness, just using what it has. And the result of all that quiet, faithful work? Access. It finds its way into places that raw power could never touch. The takeaway here is just so powerful. Your quiet, consistent, faithful work can put you in rooms you never, ever dreamed of. It has a way of opening doors that stay locked for even the most influential people. So there they are, our 4 amazing teachers, the ant, the coney, the locust, and the spider. Let's wrap this up and pull all their lessons together into one powerful pathway to living wisely. Here it is, the 4-step blueprint from these creatures. First, you have to prepare for the future with the foresight of an ant. Second, you've got to know your own limits and depend on a solid rock like the coney. Third, find your strength in others and unite in purpose like the locusts. And fourth, just keep working with quiet, faithful persistence like the spider. And this is the incredible promise at the end of it all. When you embrace the wisdom of these 4 tiny creatures, you actually unlock a life of victory, of authority. You learn to live with a wisdom that has nothing to do with your size or your strength. So, that really just leaves us with one last question to think about. As you go about the rest of your day, which of these lessons do you need to hear the most? Will you be the preparing ant, the dependent coney, the unified locust, or the persistent spider? It's up to you.